It's a great opportunity for me to be speaking with all of you on listening to parents and young people because I feel very passionately about this. Next slide, please. So the impact of the pandemic across the globe and particularly in India has been really significant. The impact has been on caregivers, children with hearing loss, teenagers, and professionals. We've had loss of jobs, pay cuts, financial insecurities. For the kids, we've had a huge impact on education because many of them in India, particularly, have had issues having just one little mobile phone to go between different family members during school time. For professionals, there's been a lack of training. There's been a significant impact on training of professionals because colleges have gone online, and also some of them have had to suddenly jump into a virtual mode of working, which has been a little difficult for them. The devices and connectivity issues have been significant because of the lockdown. We've had huge amounts of lockdown in India. So reaching the devices to families and providing services has really been a huge issue. For teenagers, particularly, socialization has really been affected. They've all been kind of, hooked to their mobile phones. And then that has led to different mental health issues, also lack of routines. So the impact, even though I'm talking about India, I think globally, it has been a similar impact. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we have done at VConnect Foundation. It is essentially a parent support group, which is a not-for-profit, and we have around 1,500 families at VConnect. The areas that we focus on are education, mental health, knowledge hub, and advocacy. We were doing all of this before the pandemic. We always wanted to move to a virtual platform, but really didn't have the, impetus to move there. But because the lockdown hit and because of the pandemic, I think the switchover that we had to a virtual world was instant. And thanks to Zoom, we could do it at a very minimal cost. Next slide, please. So some of the work that we've done in education is we've come out with a mainstream guide because what we see is in India, inclusion still remains a big factor. Even though children have cochlear implants, they're not very willingly accepted in mainstream schools. So we've come out with a mainstream guide, which is kind of a clutch between families, parents, and school teachers. This guide is available in 4 different languages, and it is free to download now. We have a soft copy from our website. What we have done is we've created a series of webinars to educate parents. So not just having the guide, but we actually took each of the modules from the guide to educate parents on how they can actually work with their children. Similarly, we've done workshops with educators to enable them to feel empowered to accept these children and include them in mainstream schools. Besides this, we also run something called a CIICA series. CIICA in Hindi is basically education. We work with a child psychologist and a special educator who conducts monthly workshops on different aspects of academics because families and children, because of lack of awareness, need that extra help to understand what are the prerequisites of academics, what kind of life skills do we need to work on with children. If these children don't fit into mainstream schools, what kind of open schooling is available? Next slide, please. Mental health is another large pillar that we work on. During the pandemic, we have conducted an online 8-month program where we have trained 20 caregivers on mental health. We have tied up with an organization and been able to do this. Now, these 20 caregivers actually conduct mental health workshops in India in 4 different languages to enable access to families who speak different languages. Besides this, we run parent support sessions. So we support 3 young adults, teenagers and young adults, to conduct monthly sessions for teenagers. There is one session which is conducted in English, and there is one session which is conducted in Hindi. This is basically to support the mental health of caregivers, also to enable these teenagers, not caregivers, teenagers, to have fun, to have people to talk to, because that isolation was really playing havoc in their lives. So these sessions have been very beneficial for them. We also have a quarterly open forum, which is called Chai Pe Charcha, where families come in and they discuss their problems. We have other families who actually support these families while they are discussing them, saying, we also went through this and maybe you can try this. Next slide, please. Besides this, our third pillar is Knowledge Hub, where we basically work on the holistic development of the child and the family. So here we run something called a Vidya series. Vidya here in Hindi means knowledge. This series is, again, a monthly series where we invite different experts to talk about different aspects of the holistic development of children. So we have a genetic counselor, we call in a developmental pediatrician, etc. We also have something called Saath Saath series. Saath Saath basically in Hindi means together, together. These are sessions which are done with the caregiver and the child, and we expose the children and families to different co-curricular activities like dance, music, drama, etc. And these children then can take one of these things forward. If they feel that they are interested in, they can pursue this forward. We then, on our chat rooms, we have theme-based activities, which we have posted actually in the initial first lockdown. Every single day we posted different theme-based activities on the WhatsApp groups to support families and children to do activities at home. Our children also are very good at art, but don't get an opportunity to showcase their art. So we provide them a platform on our chat rooms and on social media by displaying their art. We also encourage them to create art for us for special occasions like our Independence Day or different festivals. We've recognized that children with hearing loss have an issue with learning pitch and rhythm. I mean, it's scientifically proved that children with hearing loss do find it difficult. So we have started since over a year regular music sessions for these children. So they have weekly music sessions where they participate. And we've just recently, 2 weeks ago, we've had an international conference where our children performed online. They did a little music, they performed a little song which was taught to them. Speech and drama is something that we have started. This again is to build the confidence and speech and articulation skills in children. These again are weekly sessions. We have 2 sessions, one for the younger kids and one for the older kids. Next slide, please. Our 4th pillar is advocacy. In India, we don't yet have a mandatory newborn hearing screening. And being a parent of a child with hearing loss, along with my co-founder, who is also a parent, we both felt very strongly about advocating for making newborn hearing screening universal and mandatory. So we've created a report. We are working with the government. We're taking every opportunity to work towards making this mandatory. It's yet not mandatory, but we are striving on. The next aspect that we work on is called Our Rights, Hamare Adhikar, where the government of India provides a lot of different rights, benefits, and concessions in education, travel, income tax, etc. But our parents are not yet aware of these things. How do they create a unique disability ID card? How do they create a disability certificate to access these services? What are the services available? So we educate them on this through our online program, which is done every 2 months. Next slide, please. So essentially, during the pandemic, what has happened is that we have been able to convert adversity into opportunity. We've been able to, and not just we as an organization, but I would say in India and globally, we've had an enhanced reach. All of us have been able to reach out to many more families. Particularly in our organization, we have been able to actually reach out into rural India and have people who don't have any access to services join in and be party to and listen to experts from around the world. We've had an opportunity to have diverse programs because we've been able to do it virtually and online. We've had access to the best experts nationally and internationally. They've been kind enough to give us their time and their expertise. And we've been able to enable more with less. So what I mean is that with very much, with a smaller budget, we've been able to do a lot more. Had we been doing all of what we did physically, we would have not been able to cope with the resources, manpower, and all of that. So I would say for us, and I think for India and for the world, going virtual has really been a huge game changer. Next slide. Thank you so much for listening to me. I'm happy to respond to any questions that you may have now or later on. Thank you so much.